Today we're going to be discussing the Learning Organization Framework that we use to support school improvement at New Tech Network. Jim May, Chief Schools Officer for New Tech Network. So the Learning Organization Framework has three different elements: a specific focus, tight cycles of inquiry, and the elements of organizations that tend to support or impede learning. We're going to start by talking about what a focus is. The first and really key aspect of a learning organization is a focus. And by focus we mean, what's the specific thing about student learning that you're trying to change or improve? Often when schools set about improvement efforts, they tend to focus on either organizational characteristics or adult behavior and practice without ever getting around to talking about the specific thing they're trying to change about student learning by making changes in adult practice or organizational structure. So a focus for us is always the very specific thing you're trying to change about student learning. For example, you might think about student discourse and the content-rich discourse in student conversations. You might think about writing, student writing, improving the quality of student writing. We might think about collaboration, but a focus for us is always something very specific that we're trying to improve about student learning. The next piece we'll talk about is a cycle of inquiry, which once a school has identified a focus, again, the specific thing about student learning you're trying to change or improve, the way in which you set about that improvement process is through tight cycles of inquiry. For us, we talk about cycles of inquiry in three basic steps, which is data, which is what's the data that's relevant to the particular focus you've selected, and how does it shape your understanding of the challenge or the problem. Two, what analysis or insight emerges as you begin to interrogate or examine that data carefully, and how does that analysis inform a specific strategy that you want to attempt or try. Lastly, an attempted strategy results in a new set of data for you to begin the cycle over again with. And you would do that repeatedly in relation to your focus. You would look at a set of data, be careful and intentional in your analysis of that. Based on that analysis, attempt a strategy, and then based on your implementation of that strategy, review the new or emergent data from your test. An example of what this could look like in practice is, let's say a school chose a specific focus around improving the quality of student writing. The first step they might take is to collect relevant data. In this case, the most useful relevant data is not standardized test data as much as it is artifacts of student writing. Through that, they'd select a process or a protocol potentially that would help them analyze that data. They'd look at trends across samples of student work and try to identify patterns in student learning and performance. Based on that emergent understanding, they'd select or identify a strategy that they thought was promising that could help them get traction on the particular problem around student writing that they're trying to address. They would quickly implement that strategy in their classrooms in the context of whatever project they're working on at a given moment in time. And just as quickly, they'd bring those new artifacts of student writing that came out of the strategy back to the table, again to repeat the cycle all over again. The final element of the Learning Organization Framework is the exterior triangle. The sides of the triangle represent the characteristics of organizations that tend to either support or impede the ability of an organization or school to get better. Culture represents the foundational element of the triangle because it's the most critical aspect of an organization in terms of its ability to improve or get better at its core work. Culture in schools is paramount because it enables or impedes the ability of the staff to collaborate together effectively, engaging in rigorous feedback, taking risks, sharing concerns. When a culture of trust and support is absent, it's very difficult to set about the process of improving student learning. An aspect of culture that is really important as it relates to the example we talked about earlier is in the school that's pursuing writing improvement, culture will become incredibly important as they step into the process of analyzing their student work. In a culture that is low on trust, it becomes very difficult to exchange thoughtful ideas or meaningful feedback or critique about the quality of student work. Thus, it becomes really difficult to influence adult practice. Structure is the next side of the triangle that represents a key element of a school's ability to get better or improve student learning. Often, when schools set about the process of improvement, they realize that the structure of the school is impeding their ability to do the work they need to do. When they want to sit down and talk about student writing or analyze the writing samples we talked about earlier, a school might encounter that they only have 30 minutes of planning time set aside for their faculty 1 day a week. It's really difficult to thoughtfully examine student work or other data in such limited amounts of time. Consequently, the school will have to think about how to shape or evolve its structure to support their ongoing improvement efforts around their specific focus. Leadership is the last side of the triangle. Again, leadership represents a key aspect of a school's ability to continuously improve the quality of student learning. Using the example of a school trying to improve student writing, typically, one aspect of leadership is the idea of shared responsibility throughout a community or school. Often what we see in schools trying to improve student writing is a belief or a conviction that improving writing is the responsibility of an English teacher or a literacy teacher. What we see in schools that are adept at continuously improving the quality of student learning is that their key focus or their key aims for improvement become shared responsibility throughout the school community as a whole. And individuals, regardless of their specific title or position, are empowered to take action in pursuit of that focus. In conclusion, it's really important to understand that the premise of the Learning Organization Framework is that any meaningful effort to change or improve your school begins with a clear focus on something specific you want to change about student learning. Typically, when schools set about the process of improvement, they tend to begin on the outside of the triangle by thinking about what they want to change about their culture or their structure or their leadership. Our experience is that usually just leads you into more conversations about culture and structure and leadership, and you never get around to talking about student learning.